Riding a Harley is not just about the rumble and the chrome, it's about survival in traffic that doesn't care if you're new. One small mistake can change everything. Today, we're counting down the top 5 deadly errors new Harley riders make, because staying alive starts with knowing what not to do. Number 5. Trusting that drivers will follow the rules. There is a dangerous assumption that gets more new Harley riders into trouble than anything else. It's the idea that everyone else on the road is doing what they're supposed to be doing, that they see you, that they're obeying traffic laws, and that they're just as concerned about your safety as you are. For anyone who has ridden a bike longer than a season, this belief is more than just naive. It's potentially fatal. You might assume that the car in the next lane is going to stay there. You might expect the truck at the stop sign to actually stop, and you might think the SUV behind you sees your brake lights. The truth is, many drivers are distracted, tired, impatient, or simply not looking for motorcycles. They glance right past bikes and fixate on larger vehicles. That leaves you vulnerable, even invisible, in the eyes of someone behind the wheel. New riders often think that because their bike has loud pipes or big lights, drivers will naturally spot them. That's just not the case. In urban traffic, in the rain, or during twilight hours, the average motorist might not notice a motorcycle until it's far too late. It becomes even more dangerous at intersections, where most motorcycle accidents occur. You can't assume a car will yield the right of way just because they're supposed to. You have to approach every crossroad with your fingers over the brake levers, your mind on full alert, and your exit path already mapped out. If you see a car inching forward at a side street, don't count on them stopping. Adjust your speed. Move to a different part of the lane. Make eye contact if you can. If you can't, assume they don't see you. Riders returning to the road after a few decades off often overestimate how much road awareness they retained from their younger years. They forget that today's roads are busier, faster, and filled with distracted drivers who rely too heavily on blind spot monitoring or lane assist features. These systems don't always detect motorcycles, and even when they do, drivers can override them with a careless flick of the steering wheel or tap of the gas. It's not just about being seen, it's about being mentally prepared for the moment you're not. That's where defensive riding comes in. You have to expect the unexpected. Every mile, keep an eye on cross traffic, mirrors, and movement patterns of vehicles around you. Watch the front wheels of cars at intersections. Are they creeping forward? Are they angled toward your lane? That might be all the warning you get. If you want to stay safe on the road, hit that like button and subscribe to get more tips on avoiding these deadly mistakes. A great rule of thumb is the one escape route principle. No matter where you are on the road, city traffic, open highway, or suburban avenue, you should always have one clear direction you can move in if something goes wrong. This means never boxing yourself between vehicles, never riding too close to guardrails, and never sitting dead center in someone's blind spot. Another deadly assumption new riders make is thinking that traffic rules protect them. Legally, you might have the right of way, but physically, you're still the most vulnerable vehicle on the road. A distracted driver who merges into your lane won't be stopped by your turn signal or helmet color. They'll only be stopped by your ability to react in time, and that means braking distance, maneuvering skill, and total awareness. And let's not forget group rides. In group situations, new riders often think the sheer number of bikes will make them safer. That may be partially true, but it's not a guarantee. Drivers will still drift between packs, cut into convoys, or tailgate from behind. In fact, large group rides sometimes confuse motorists who try to sneak through before the next wave of bikes arrives. Again, it's on you to anticipate and adjust. You might think other drivers are your biggest problem until you realize how your own hesitation can turn routine traffic into a disaster. Number 4. Hesitation and overthinking in traffic. Riding a Harley-Davidson should be about confidence and control, not uncertainty. Yet for many new riders, especially those returning to motorcycles after 20 or 30 years away, there is one critical flaw that continues to put lives at risk: hesitation. It might seem harmless at first, but on the road, even a moment of indecision can become the exact moment a mistake turns deadly. We are not just talking about new young riders here. We are talking about men in their 50s and 60s, folks who once rode in their youth and are now rediscovering the road with a heavyweight cruiser. For these riders, Hesitation can be triggered by unfamiliar traffic patterns, muscle memory that is faded, or simply being out of sync with modern riding habits. Picture this. A rider is approaching a traffic merge. The car to the left is slowing down, the right lane is open, and the rider has space to move. Instead of executing the merge, he hesitates. He second-guesses his move, taps the brakes, and starts to drift instead of leaning into the throttle. Within seconds, the moment is gone. The traffic tightens, and now he is boxed in with two cars inches from either side. It only takes one driver not paying attention to turn that hesitation into an accident. Hesitation does not always look like full stops. Sometimes it is just a delay in decision-making, a failure to accelerate through an open turn, an unsure wobble when navigating a lane split, or a nervous slowdown at the start of a green light. These small moments become massive liabilities in traffic. A rider who hesitates becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability on a motorcycle is a death sentence. Harley Davidsons, especially the heavier touring models, demand purpose. These are not bikes you can tiptoe around on. Their size, weight, and torque require the rider to be clear and committed in every move, and hesitation is not just a mental problem, it becomes physical. When your brain hesitates, your body stiffens. Your throttle hand goes numb. Your clutch hand loses feel. You begin to second-guess your body position, your gear changes, and your braking. That physical tightness makes it harder to operate your machine smoothly, which in turn creates more stress and increases the likelihood of an error. A new rider might suddenly grab the front brake too hard in a panic or stall out mid-turn, all because they hesitated at the wrong moment. One way to overcome hesitation is by building confidence in low-risk environments. Parking lots, open roads early in the morning, or riding with an experienced partner can help rebuild lost muscle memory and restore the rhythm of decision-making. Practicing basic maneuvers like slow-speed turns, controlled stops, and quick lane changes can develop the mental wiring needed to make fast decisions when it matters most. Another critical step is visualization. Before you even start the engine, take 10 seconds to visualize the first intersection, the first merge, or the first lane change you will face. Mentally rehearsing the ride allows your brain to prepare for the action. This cuts down on hesitation in real time. Riders who practice visualization react faster, more fluidly, and with less fear. It is also important to remember that not every moment on the road requires perfect timing, but it does require action. Even a less than ideal decision is often safer than doing nothing at all. Traffic flows around those who are predictable. You may not always pick the perfect line or time the perfect pass, but if you act with control and consistency, other drivers can adjust. The moment you stall, physically or mentally, you lose that advantage. The key is not to eliminate fear. Fear is part of the game. It keeps you cautious, sharp, and alive. The goal is to prevent fear from turning into paralysis. That starts with understanding the road, understanding your bike, and understanding yourself as a rider. For Harley-Davidson owners, especially those riding larger bikes like the Road Glide CVO, the Street Glide, or the Fat Bob 114, hesitation can feel amplified due to the sheer bulk of the machine. But those bikes are built for confident riding, and they reward riders who treat every ride like it matters. Because it does. One rider at a recent Harley meetup in Pakenham described it best. He said, "When I stopped thinking and just started riding with purpose, everything felt easier. I was not fighting the bike anymore." That is the mindset. The bike is never the problem. It is the hesitation between your ears that creates the chaos. But hesitation is only half the story, because where you ride in your lane might be the biggest danger you never saw coming. Gear up like your life depends on it. Because it does. We've listed trusted jackets, gloves, helmets, and more in the description. Number 3, riding in the worst lane position. There is a moment on every highway, somewhere between the calm of the ride and the chaos of traffic, where your position in the lane makes all the difference. And far too often, new Harley-Davidson riders choose the absolute worst place to be, the center of the lane. It might seem logical, it might feel balanced, but that center strip is a trap. It's where oil collects from leaking cars. It's where gravel and debris settle after storms. It's the slipperiest, most unpredictable part of the road, and yet it is where countless new riders plant themselves without even thinking about the risks. The truth is, your lane position is not just a preference. It is a strategic decision that affects your visibility, your escape routes, and your reaction time. When you sit directly in the middle of the lane, you eliminate your best options for avoidance. If a car in front of you suddenly slams on the brakes, your chances of quickly slipping to the left or right around them drop significantly. You become boxed in, especially on multi-lane roads with large trucks and aggressive drivers on either side. Once that happens, your only choices are to brake hard or hope they see you. Neither is good. Now this is where things get serious, because while the center of the lane is a problem, many riders overcorrect by hugging the curb or drifting too close to the edge. That's another disaster waiting to happen. Drainage grates, uneven asphalt, and reduced visibility make the outer edge unpredictable. Worse yet, it puts you in the blind spot of turning vehicles or drivers merging from side streets. So where do you go? The answer is nuanced. The best position is typically either the left or right tire track, where the left wheel of a car would pass, or the right, depending on the lane and direction of traffic. That said, you cannot ride mindlessly in any one position. Constant adjustments based on what's ahead, what's beside you, and what's coming up behind are part of staying safe. If you're coming up on an intersection with cars waiting to turn left, you might want to shift slightly toward the right tire track. If there's a semi-truck encroaching on your lane, move toward the opposite side. Riding defensively means understanding that your lane is not a static zone. It's a dynamic environment, and your survival depends on how well you read it. Let's talk about escape routes. In a car, you can absorb a minor hit. On a Harley, that's not an option. If something goes wrong, if a car swerves, if a pedestrian runs out, if a piece of debris gets kicked up, you need an out. That means riding where you can instantly change direction without obstruction. And from the center of the lane, your maneuverability is worse. But from the tire tracks, especially the left track, you usually have a clear shoulder or adjacent lane to swerve into if things go south. That space can be the difference between a close call and a crash. And then there's the issue of intersections. Statistically, the most dangerous place for motorcyclists. If you're stopped in traffic at a light, never sit dead center behind the car in front of you. Always offset yourself either to the left or right, leaving enough room to swerve out if the driver behind you fails to stop. It's a small habit that creates a critical margin of safety. The same logic applies when traffic is flowing. If you're boxed in and cannot move left or right, you are gambling with your life. Now let's break down some technical factors. Many Harley models, like the Road King or the Street Glide, are long and wide, which means choosing a poor lane position has a more serious consequence than it would on a smaller bike. Their turning radius and weight make emergency maneuvers slower. A standard Harley touring bike weighs between 875 and 925 pounds, with braking distances that stretch further than smaller bikes. Combine that with a low-slung seat height and a long wheelbase, and you've got a machine that demands pre-planning, not just reaction. Proper suspension setup also matters. Many Harley riders prefer lowered suspensions for comfort and style, but this reduces ground clearance. Hitting debris or a pothole from the center lane can bottom out the bike and damage the frame or exhaust. Add in factory braking systems, usually dual front disc brakes with 4 piston calipers and a single disc rear, and you've got stopping power, but it needs dry, clean pavement to work effectively. Even perfect lane positioning won't help if you're doing the one thing that puts you in the crosshairs of every car around you. Number 2, riding slower than traffic. One of the most dangerous things a new Harley rider can do, especially in dense city traffic or fast suburban corridors, is ride too slowly. It may seem like common sense to stay cautious, to ease into traffic, and to keep your speed modest while you build up experience, but that instinct can backfire in a brutal way. When you ride slower than the surrounding traffic, you're not just giving up control, you're becoming a target. Traffic flow on American roads follows a rhythm, and the safest place for a motorcycle is often ahead of that rhythm, not caught in the middle of it. When you ride at the same speed as traffic, you're surrounded, and when you ride slower, you invite cars, trucks, and buses to pass you constantly. That puts you in blind spots, traps you between aggressive drivers, and leaves you exposed to tailgaters who may not even see you until it's too late. This is especially true for Harley riders. These bikes are wide, heavy, and rumble with personality, but that personality means nothing if you're boxed in on a 3-lane highway with nowhere to go. Staying ahead of the pack gives you space, visibility, and precious seconds to make emergency decisions. It gives you the power to choose your path instead of being forced into someone else's. And here's something older riders know too well. The rear-end collision is one of the most common and deadly types of crashes for motorcycle riders. Cars today are full of distractions distractions, touch screens, cell phones, self-driving assists that still don't see motorcycles properly. You may be riding perfectly straight and legal, but if you're crawling along too slowly, you're betting your life that the driver behind you is paying attention. That is not a bet worth making. The danger gets even worse when you're in multi-lane traffic and cars begin weaving between lanes. If you're going 10 or 15 miles per hour, slower than traffic flow, you're not predictable. You're an obstacle. And unfortunately, drivers don't treat obstacles with the care they should. Riding slightly faster than traffic by a few miles per hour is not reckless. It's strategic. It puts you ahead of the chaos. It gives you visual space to see road hazards before they happen. And most importantly, it minimizes the number of vehicles coming up from behind at speed. Now, this does not mean flying down the highway like a maniac. New riders should never ride beyond their capabilities. But it does mean matching the flow of traffic or staying just ahead of it so you're not constantly reacting to others. Every time you get past, every time someone cuts around you, your risk level increases. And when that happens over and over again in a single ride, your chances of making it home safely begin to shrink. Think about this too. When you're riding behind traffic, your view is blocked. You can't see the pothole coming. You can't see the loose gravel in the curve. You can't see the stalled truck or the merging car until the last second. Being behind a wall of vehicles means you're relying on their decisions. That's never where a Harley rider wants to be. There's also the mechanical side of things. Harleys are not meant to be creeped along like scooters. These bikes are powered by big, throaty V-twin engines that run hotter in stop-and-go traffic. Lugging around at low speeds can overwork the clutch, increase engine heat, and burn through components faster than normal. In other words, riding too slow is not just dangerous, it's expensive. You don't have to floor it. You don't need to zip around like you're on a sport bike. But what you do need to do is keep your position ahead of the chaos. Control your lane, own your pace, give yourself the room to think clearly and the space to make decisions. That's the heart of safe riding. If you've ever seen that poor rider on a small motorcycle or scooter hugging the curb, going full throttle at 25 miles per hour, you already know how that story ends. Don't be that rider, especially not on a Harley that was born to lead. Riding too slow doesn't feel like a mistake in the moment. In fact, it might even feel responsible. But in the real world of unpredictable traffic, oversized vehicles, distracted drivers, and poor visibility, slow speed puts you in the most vulnerable position imaginable. You're not blending in, you're being swallowed. Staying ahead of traffic is smart, but staying focused while you ride is what will actually save your life. Like this video if you're learning something new, and subscribe for more Harley tips to keep you safe on the road. Now let's move on to one of the biggest rookie mistakes you can make. Keep watching. Number 1. Riders losing focus behind the bars. There is no mistake more dangerous than losing focus while riding. Whether you are navigating slow-moving traffic, cruising on the open highway, or easing your way through an unfamiliar town, your full attention is your lifeline. On a Harley, distractions are not just risky, they are deadly. Unlike driving a car where you are protected by metal, airbags, and automated assistance systems, riding a Harley-Davidson leaves you exposed. Every decision you make and every second you delay in reacting could be the difference between getting home safely and not getting home at all. For many new riders, especially older Americans who are returning to bikes after years away, this lesson does not hit home until they are already in a dangerous situation. Fatigue, dehydration, uncomfortable gear, and even a wandering mind can strip away your edge without warning. Most people think distraction means pulling out your phone or fumbling with the radio. On a motorcycle, distraction can be as simple as letting your thoughts drift while your body keeps riding. It is not enough to keep your eyes on the road. You have to keep your mind on the ride, especially when you are on a heavyweight V-twin cruising machine. A lot of Harley riders tend to ride long distances with few breaks. There is a pride to it, going tank to tank without stopping, proving you still have what it takes. But this mindset can be dangerous. As your body tires, your ability to concentrate begins to deteriorate. Wind fatigue, engine vibration, and the constant need for balance and input from all your senses create an invisible drain on your focus. And when that focus slips, mistakes follow. Delayed braking, missed signals, and even tipping the bike while maneuvering at slow speed become real risks. This is why veteran riders understand the importance of mental checkpoints. Every 30 to 45 minutes, you should be asking yourself, am I still alert? Am I hydrated? Are my hands relaxed? Or am I gripping the bars with tension? Many new riders hang on too tight, locking their arms and shoulders as if they are trying to steer a runaway train. This muscle muscle tension feeds into mental exhaustion, increasing the chance of a lapse. You must train your body to ride loose, responsive, and controlled. One trick experienced riders use is facial relaxation. When your face, jaw, and mouth are relaxed, the rest of your body tends to follow. Try it the next time you are on a long ride. Loosen your facial muscles, then notice how your shoulders and arms begin to soften. Your breathing steadies. Your mind clears up. That is the difference between a confident rider and one who is riding on the edge of burnout. Weather also plays a massive role in rider focus. Heat can cause dehydration and sunstroke, especially for riders in black leather gear under direct summer sun. Cold can create muscle tension, numbness, and delayed reaction times. If you are too cold to think straight, you are too cold to ride. Always plan your gear with the forecast in mind. In hot weather, ride earlier in the morning or later in the evening. In cold climates, stick to the warmest part of the day. A quality riding jacket with ventilation or heating elements can make a world of difference. Now let us talk about rider input overload. Motorcycles give you an incredible number of sensory inputs at once. Wind, vibration, engine noise, motion, and traffic cues all hit your system at the same time. This bombardment is exhilarating when you are fresh, but it can be overwhelming after an hour or two. You must actively filter out what does not matter and focus on what does. A common rule is to watch only the front wheels and driver's eyes of surrounding cars. That tells you everything you need to know about what a vehicle is going to do next. If a car is angled slightly or if the driver is not looking your way, you should assume they do not see you. If you see a twitch in the front wheels, prepare for a lane change. These details keep your mind sharp and eliminate unnecessary guesswork. The less mental clutter you allow in, the more energy you have left to stay alert, ride smart, and react fast. Another hidden danger tied to distraction is speed drift. The more you ride at high speeds, the more those speeds feel normal. As a result, you may start riding faster than conditions allow without realizing it. This is especially dangerous in areas with blind intersections or crosswinds. Always ride at the minimum speed that your brain can stay focused at. If you are bored, it is too slow. If you are missing key details around you, it is too fast. If any of these mistakes sounded a little too familiar, don't worry. You've just learned how to avoid them. Comment below with which mistake you've seen or made, hit subscribe, and like this video to stay updated on everything Harley.